Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe vom SI Talk. Ich bin nach wie vor in Vancouver und bei mir eine Firma, die ich schon lange verfolge, wo ich lange schon investiert bin, habe einen Conflict of Interest, ich bin Aktionär, wo sich ausschaut, wie wenn sich nicht viel getan hat. In Wirklichkeit hat sich allerdings viel getan, aber es war noch nicht der Trigger da, warum die Aktie explodiert. Bei mir ist Luquman, wir haben vor ein paar Jahren das letzte Interview gemacht und seitdem ein bisschen die Dinge verloren, quasi, uns aus den Augen verloren. Habe aber nach wie vor meine Aktie, war früher eine sehr große Position von mir. Mittlerweile ist es nur mehr eine kleinere Position, aber ich hoffe doch eine powerful Position, die in Zukunft eher positives Power für mein Depot bringen wird. I say this in my German introduction, I have a conflict of interest. I'm a shareholder, I'm a long-term shareholder. I realize in our previous conversation that you are now 10 years, you have your 10 years in university as a CEO as a company. I was investor before you become CEO. So it's a long-term investment for me. I have still my old position there. And I hope that the future, you're in the copper business, for all the other people that don't know this, and you're in Peru, you're in the right place, also in the right commodity, from my understanding. I hopefully that we can really have a big impact on my portfolio in the future from your company. I said in before, you are in copper, you're in Peru. So the last interview is a very long time ago. Maybe you can bring us on the stage what is actual really happened in your company.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned 10 years. 10 years ago, Panoro Minerals, we had zero resource between all of our projects. And over the last 10 years, on our two main projects, Antilla and Cotabambas, we've drilled more than 80,000 meters. And we have grown the resource in various stages from 0 to 2 billion pounds of copper to 4, then to 7, and now we're sitting with 10.5 billion pounds of copper equivalent in the resource between the two projects. Subsequent to the resource completion, we carried out preliminary economic assessments on both Antilla and Cotabambas, and we optimized both of those economic assessments. The Cotabambas project, the economic assessment was completed in 2016, and the Antilla economic assessment, the updated assessment, we completed in May of this year. So within the 10 years, we now have two projects with economic assessments completed, and the combined NPV of the two projects is approaching $1 billion US. So in 10 years, that's what we did. We grew the resource base from 0 to 10.5 billion pounds of copper equivalent. We completed economic assessments showing about $1 billion US of value in the two projects. Also in this 10-year period, we have brought in some very significant institutional and strategic shareholders, including Hudbay, who owns just under 12% of our stock. We also completed a very unique and significant streaming agreement on the Cotabambas project with Wheaton Precious Metals. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a lot of work. And during this 10 plus years in Peru, we've had a number of different governments, a number of different presidents, and if we look back further, over 30 years in Peru, we've had 7 different presidents, 6 different political parties, a number of different governments, political parties, and presidents. But despite all this change, very consistent treatment of the mining sector in Peru, demonstrating that Peru is a very pro-mining by nature. It's not just a function of which party or which government or which president is in place. So the situation in Peru has only gotten stronger for mining. In the last 10 years, Peru has increased by more than double its copper production to become the world's second largest copper producer. And most of that copper development is occurring in the south of the country, where our projects are located. And we have 2 advanced projects in the best copper development district in the world. And so that's been a long 10 years.
We know exactly that the copper business, porphyry business, is a very expensive business also to bring it in production. So to coming forward, normally I would say, or in the old days we always say, explorer, find the porphyry, build it up to a resource base, and PEA, for example, and then it taken out by some bigger ones. Do you see this opportunity in your company too?
Definitely. We have always maintained that we are an exploration company, and that's what our focus is. And at the right time, at the right price, with the right offer, that we would sell the projects. But really the question is, how do we maximize the value of our projects? And I think it's been demonstrated that the best way to maximize the value of your projects is A, to have them financed, and B, have a plan so that you don't need to sell them, that there's a way to develop them without a sale. So now we're presented with 2 projects, Cotabambas, which is very big. It has a 700 plus million ton resource. After the PEAs, we've identified a number of new growth areas, new discoveries. We expect to be drilling another discovery this year. So the Cotabambas project is 700 plus million tons and big upside still. We think that we could double it or more still. The Antilla project is moderate scale, and we scaled down the project with the current PEA. So we're presented with these 2 projects with 2 different, very different characteristics. So our strategy, our viewpoint, and therefore our strategy is that in order to maximize the value of our projects and to avoid any market financings, we will look to partner or the Antilla project sooner rather than later. It's a very compact project, small footprint, $250 million capital cost that produces a plus $300 million net present value. And with the improved metallurgical recoveries that we identified over the summer, it could have more value yet. So we think that we can find a partner on the Antilla project that will then finance the transaction around which will finance our Cotabambas project all the way through to bankable feasibility and permitting. So that's why we updated the PEA on Antilla. We have announced that we're carrying out a strategic review on the Antilla project at the alternatives that are available. And I think that's the best way for us to position ourselves on the Cotabambas project, is to have it funded all the way through to bankable feasibility so that there's no funding risk or overhang. And we're hopeful that by the end of this year that we'll have defined something.
So close. Okay.
Yeah, we've been working on it for a number of months already. And I think the copper market is helping us, notwithstanding a few months of copper price fluctuations.
But the last few weeks it's picking up.
It's picking up again, right? 2 years ago we were below $2 a pound. We peaked a few months ago at $3.30 a pound. We're still, now sort of back in the 280-ish. So we're still up 40% over the last couple of years. And I think the fundamentals around copper are pretty clear. That the lack of new supply is going to throw the market into imbalance. And new copper projects in safe jurisdictions like we are in will be highly sought after. And the best that we can do for our shareholders is to ensure that we have a plan forward through to feasibility on the Cotabambas project. And so that's the strategy that we're pursuing.
So that's mean
okay, the last 10 years you developed these two projects really advanced, so you're coming up to more than 10.5 billion pounds of copper equivalent, but as around 1 billion on net asset value. And you're an explorer normally, and they take out by bigger companies in the old idea of mining. But you must prepare that you can do it by your own. And now you are in a strategic review of the Antia project. That's the smaller one, I must say. Mm-hmm. So they have so far last PE around 300 million NPV, and also a capex around 250. So for a copper project, really smaller numbers. And with this, that you're looking for a partner, the idea is behind that you get enough money to bring your Cotabambas project up to a bankable feasibility study.
Correct.
So that's great, and a great update. Thank you for this. Now, one personal question about the copper market itself. What is your personal? We talk a little bit the price of copper. It's going up 40% over the last 2 years. And copper is a strategic metal from my point of view. So when you look at the development, what's going around, the urbanization of the countries around the globe, also the electrician cars need a lot of copper, or much more copper. The whole infrastructure of electrician is running on copper. Mm-hmm. But what is your personal feeling? Sometimes I find that the people not realize, without copper and other commodities, the world that we know cannot run.
Right. Well, I think in human societies now, when a human society has secured food and water, shelter, safety, the next thing that it requires is electricity. That's how fundamental electricity is to human societies, and electricity means copper. So wherever you generate, distribute, transmit, or use electric energy, you need copper. The worldwide copper market is some 20 plus million tons a year, and over the last number of years we are running at a 100,000 ton surplus on 20 plus million ton market, resulting in continuously declining copper prices. Well, now forecasts are showing the potential for plus 500,000 ton to plus 1 billion ton shortage that's on the horizon. So you can only imagine that if 100,000 ton surplus led to copper price going from $4 a pound down to $2 a pound, you can reverse that and imagine what a 500,000 ton to 1 billion ton shortfall, 500,000 to 1 million ton shortfall could lead to in terms of copper price increase. And of course the shortage, there's a demand side and a supply side issue to the shortage. Clearly the you referred to it earlier, the supply side issue is that it takes a very long time to find, explore, engineer, permit, develop a new copper mine. So you don't just turn on a switch and start producing more copper. It takes a long time. So as demand increases, the supply side has a difficult time in catching up. So that's fundamental to our business, and that is a key driving issue in the copper price and the imbalance in supply demand. But you also referred, there's our new demand side issues now. Increased industrialization and urbanization around the world. Over the last 20 years in southern and eastern China, now in other parts of Southeast Asia, in sub-Saharan Africa, we will continue to see it's inevitable the development of human societies towards greater urbanization and greater industrialization, which will increase the per capita consumption of copper in those regions of the world. Moreover, the electrification of transport networks is going to create a whole new demand for copper. If you look at just new vehicle sales, we're on a track where soon new vehicle sales will be about 100 million vehicles a year new. And in a world where 50% of these new vehicles are electric vehicle requiring a lot more copper than a gas engine, means that 25% of the current supply of copper will be required for new electric vehicles.
Wow.
So there's a brand new emerging supply demand side issue. So I think it might be understating copper's importance to call it a base metal. I think it might be more apt to refer to copper as the precious base metal.
Good term. Luquman, thank you for the update. It was a great one, and it's a great improvement over the last 10 years, but 10 years, it's take a long time. It was a tough market in the meantime, we must say. Only the last, compare 2010-11 was a period that was not bad, and the copper has some sunshine in the last 2 years, but in general it was really a bad market. So congratulations what you're doing the last 10 years to bring the company from nearly 0 to 1 billion NPV. So it's a great thing what you're doing in the last 10 years.
Thank you.
Deutsche Zusammenfassung davon. Ich habe schon gesagt, in den letzten 10 Jahren, in den letzten 10 Jahren die Company quasi von 0 Ressource, 0 NPV auf über 10 Milliarden Pfund Kupfer-Äquivalent und NPV von ungefähr 1 Milliarde gebracht. Der Markt war selber schlecht, allerdings schaut es jetzt so aus, dass der Markt dreht. Also bis jetzt haben sie in den letzten Jahren immer so 100.000 Tonnen Überschuss gehabt im Kupfermarkt. Das scheint jetzt zu drehen auf eine halbe Million bis 1 Million Kilos auf einen Defizit. Von einem 20 Millionen Markt sprechend immer. Und auch die ganze Elektrifizierung der Automobilindustrie bringt ein ganz neues Thema auf. Elektroautos brauchen viel mehr Kupfer als ein normales Auto. Und alleine wenn 50% der weltweiten Produktion auf Elektroautos sein würden, dann würde das ungefähr 25% des Weltmarktes vom Kupfer benötigen. Das Problem, was ich sehe oder sehr viel sehe, ist, dass es einfach extrem schwierig ist, neue Minen in Produktion zu bringen. Das ist nicht so einfach. Die Zeitpunkte, die Zeitspanne, wo sie eine Mine in Produktion bringen können, jetzt viel, viel länger. Und er sagt ihm, auch wenn die Nachfrage extrem schnell steigt, das Angebot kann mit dem nicht mithalten und dann wird es ein Problem mit dem Preis geben und dementsprechend den Preis nach oben schießen, was natürlich für ein Projekt sehr gut ist. Kommen wir zurück zu den Projekten. Sie haben ein großes Projekt, das Cotobambas. Das hat so um die 7,5 Millionen Milliarden Pfund Kupfer und dann haben wir ein kleines Projekt Antilla. Antilla ist gut 250 Millionen Capex, der NPV ist um die 300 Millionen. Und das sind dann interessante Sachen, wo man jetzt einen Partner sucht, der dann auch dementsprechend so viel Geld natürlich einschießt in die Company, dass Cotobambas bis zur Bankable Feasibility bringen können. Das könnte natürlich einen gewissen Newsflow erhöhen, das könnte natürlich auch das ganze Sentiment für die Aktie drehen, wenn man sieht, dass die da jetzt einen großen Partner herinnen haben, der das dementsprechend bewerkstelligt. Sie haben jetzt schon die ersten Finanzgesellschaften eingebunden, um diesen Prozess zu beschleunigen. Und mit ein bisschen Glück hat er gesagt, dann wollen sie diesen Prozess bis Ende des Jahres abschließen. Ich bin gespannt, also da können wir Big News erwarten und das wird ein richtig interessantes, spannendes Thema. Und nachdem ich Aktionär bin, hoffe ich, dass das dementsprechend auch dann extrem positiv auf meinen Aktienpreis durchschlägt. Man rechnen Sie nur den NPV aus, was das auf dem Aktienkurs momentan bedeuten würde. Da kommen es schnell einmal in ein paar Dollar rein pro Aktie. Das war's von mir, vom Panoro September 2018. Tschüss und Baba.
Thank you.
Thank you.